Hello, and another free full-length video. This time, Adam and Joe, absolutely stellar guests. When we stopped putting these up for free, you can watch all of the videos right up to date by joining our badge scheme at gofasterstripe.com/. Hello, and welcome to another free video. It's Adam and Joe. What? We're really spoiling you. You can watch all the videos right up to date straight away by becoming a badger at gofasterstripe.com/badges. It's £3 a month. You can pay more if you want. You get all the videos plus loads of other extras as well. Or just watch this for nothing. Or you can come and see one live. RHLSTP, richardherring.com/RHLSTP for gigs. John Cairns and Paul Whitehouse coming up as guests. And also my tour show, Can I Have My Ball Back? Or go to gofasterstripe.com and buy downloads, books. I've got books all over the shop. But if you just want to enjoy this for nothing or just want to tell your friends about it, that's cool too. All right, motherfuckers, see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leicester Square Theatre. Please welcome a man whose daughter has taken up his mantle as a fantastic story writer. It's Richard Herring. Very much. You're much better than last week's audience. So welcome to welcome to Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast. But why have I taken my glasses off? I need them. But I was talking to that man who sent a TikTok video back from 2027, where he's the only surviving human being. But still, what is most impressive to me is that he's managed to send video through time. That to me is still. I'm still more interested in how he's done that than the fact he's the only human being left alive. Anyway, he calls it RHLSTP, and so did everyone in the future before they died. He possibly sent all that. Have you seen this video? I mean, you won't have done. Things like this happen all the time on the internet. I don't know why they would go through TikTok, particularly future time travelers. But you usually have someone coming back in their blurred face and go, "Yes, I've come from the future to warn you. I forgot to mention the coronavirus." But it's very impressive that it manages to get into the papers. My daughter, you may remember, if you're a long-time listener of my podcasts or stand-up shows, that as a young man, when I first learnt to write, I was very interested in writing stories. I wrote a story called The Man Who Was Never Born. I don't know if I can't really remember. There once was a man who was never born and nobody saw him because he was never born. And he would steal things from people. I think it was something like that. That was my story. And the four men had a fight with the men of Phise. That's a classic. My daughter is interested. She started to write, but she dictated a long story to me yesterday. I typed it up on the computer so she could send it to her friend Matthew. He's called Matthew, but that's what she calls him. They've been best pals since nursery, but sadly, due to evil North Hertfordshire Council, they do not go to the same school. I'm going to keep on at them until they apologise. They haven't seen each other much in the last couple of years because of lockdown as well. But she's wrote this long story for him, which is about a dinosaur fucking a unicorn. So I want you to essentially. I just want to read that. It was honestly so long, but I'll read you the first bit. Once upon a time, there was a unicorn and a dinosaur. They were friends. One day, they decided to get married. They had a unicorn cross dinosaur baby. The crying was very loud. And it was very sparkly. Then they wanted to have another baby, but that baby wasn't ordinary. It was a fish cross dog. The crying was very cute, and one day they were very sad, but they couldn't find anything fish dog baby liked. So then they buyed all the things that a baby could like, and the fish dog baby didn't like any of them. So then, sadly, they had to put it in an orphanage. She couldn't understand. She kept on getting me to read this story from the beginning, and every time I got to that line, I would laugh. She'd go, "Why are you laughing at that? Why is..." I told her there was nothing funny about it, and it was very sad, but I couldn't help sniggering. And she was confused why her serious tale of a fish dog that came from the union of a dinosaur and a unicorn was making me laugh and not cry. And then on the second page, the family get reunited, and then she asked me to write, and they all lived happily ever after. Or did they? And she was really pleased about that. And then she wrote another 2 pages about how they didn't live happily ever after, which I think kind of ruined. I said that sort of ruined it. It was all right in the end. It was all right in the end. They went to London and they didn't have any money and they tried to pick up money off the street, but the people who sweep the streets do it in the dawn and they could never... So then they got up before sunrise and they got £1 million off the street. So it was fine, Then it went wrong again. So good, that's material for me for the next 3 or 4 years. Sort it out. Right, I think that's everything I was going to do. Just let me check there. Let me check. Remember to buy my book and... I tell you what I didn't talk about last time was I've come up with a sitcom idea about Mrs. Thatcher, Mrs. T, who is secretly married to Mr. T from the A-Team. I sort of put it on Twitter as a joke, and loads of people made really good suggestions, like calling it TNT. That's quite good, isn't it? And Mr. T stopping the Brighton bomb and stuff. I think I kind of see it. I only want to do it if we can have the kind of budget that The Crown has, right? and then it's all filmed like that, quite seriously, but just made up. So, if anyone's interested, one of my guests has got a deal with Netflix, so you never know. You never know. Just pitch that. Now, I guess this week, one of them is probably best known for being the documentary voiceover in Attack the Block. It's an amazing film, that a brilliant film. I don't know who directed it. And the other one is probably best known as the autograph hunter in Notting Hill, but he was also the runner on Blue Juice. Yeah. I'm going to talk mainly about that. Will you please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, together at last, for the first time in 25 years since they fell out very badly and have not seen each other. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Adam and Joe! It's Adam and Joe! Adam and Joe! It's Adam... You come in. Wearing their T-shirts, identified by their T. Oh, look. Wow. Oh, man. This is the best thing that's ever happened.
This is coming, just coming. This is pretty sad stuff, isn't it?
Mr. Buxton, Mr. Cornish, can Adam and Joe come out to play? How you doing, guys?
Yeah.
Very well. Good to be here, Richard.
Really good to have you, Joe. I mean, he's been here a lot, and way too often.
Quite boring.
But to have you on is a real coup.
Thanks, man.
That's all right. That's okay. Tell us about being the documentary voiceover in Attack the Block. Adam, that was you.
Yeah. I mean, it's early for a bitter tirade. Maybe Joe should explain why he thought that was the best use of my talents.
Well, Adam is very thin-skinned.
Yes, I've noticed.
So you've got to give him something. Otherwise, the consequences are interminable. So I thought that would be a good fit. He did a really good job, if anyone's seen the film. He did a really good job. And your acting skills are very... Well, you're a powerful actor. Right? You've got a lot of talent that you find difficult to control sometimes. Sometimes a fire burns so brightly within a person that it can't be controlled by any fire service. There's no fireman capable of controlling the way it burns.
Shut up. Shut up. It's just like Tyrell trying to explain to Roy Batty why he's going to be killed soon. It's not... That's what a director's supposed to do. When you have a powerful talent, you're supposed to channel it cleverly into the right role, not just say, oh, yeah, do a background voiceover for a scene that no one will ever know that it's you in the scene. That was a good sentence, wasn't it? Anyway, so, yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm delighted to be in it, and I got a slightly better role in A Kid Who Would Be King.
Yes, Stonehenge
Got
tour
some
guide.
screen time.
Yeah.
Not allowed to do an accent or any any funny stuff. But I'm looking forward to, Attack the Block 2, which was announced in the trades. I imagine there's a big Buckles-shaped hole in that guy.
A big buckle-shaped hole in it. a hole with nothing in it. No, I'll definitely, we'll definitely bring the voiceover guy back.
Yeah. He didn't get killed in the first one, did he? So
No, exactly.
because he was on TV.
People love the voice. I mean, I'm always at Comic-Con. Hey, that's the voiceover guy from Attack the Block, isn't it?
And the autograph hunter, you get. Julia Roberts.
That's not true.
Is it not?
No. A few people have mentioned that to me. That's an anomalous IMDb entry. I don't know what that's about. But Blue Juice, I was a runner on. That's
why I did
real.
put 2 on, because I thought the one it might.
Has anyone seen Blue Juice? Yeah, it's like a Cornish surfing film.
Okay.
It's quite good with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Was everyone called? Was everyone have Cornish as their surname?
It's crude and stars.
There has to be some Cornish connection. Okay. They all ate pasties. They were. That's it. That's all I've got.
What? How did they treat you as the because you start it's interesting, isn't it? They always say that be nice to the people on the way up because
They were. It was a good experience. I'm desperately trying to think of some sort of amusing anecdote.
Yeah.
And all I can remember is a scene with a very young Catherine Zeta-Jones coming into a room topless, carrying 2 tarts on a tray.
Okay.
And the elderly producer watching that scene over and over again in the edit, assessing it.
Yeah.
That's my key memory of that.
That's a good memory.
It's an important job. It
was one of Ewan McGregor's first roles.
Was it?
Yeah.
I noticed you haven't employed any of these actors in any of your films, so they kind of been that nice to you.
No. What, Ewan McGregor and Catherine Zeta-Jones? No, I should though, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Blue Juice was just after. Was it after Trainspotting?
Oh God, I don't know.
It was a
Somebody
weird. It felt like a weird kind of misstep just when things were getting groovy and exciting in British cinema. Suddenly it was, this is going to be a sexy surfing movie in Cornwall. Here we go. Watch this explode.
Listen, it's a good movie, and I won't have you say a word against it.
Sorry.
What did Blue Juice refer to?
It's like it's like
disease.
water.
It's because of the pollution. That's what happens to their urine.
It's pretty good. I'm going to check it out.
Have you got the blue juice? Yeah. I do. Yeah, I've had it for a couple of days now.
I thought it might be about slush puppies. That's the only kind of blue juice.
Yeah.
Remember blue slush puppies?
Yes.
Tango Ice Blast. My son loves those.
Oh yeah, they do those. We had some at where were we? Longleat. No, didn't like them. Oh. Going to be a long night. Going to be a long old night. Hey, it's 25 years since Adam and Joe was launched into an unsuspecting public, and in celebration, I watched 2.5 episodes of Adam and Joe.
The first two.
First 2.5. You say you're much better than last week's audience in it.
Do I really?
Yeah. To a non-existent audience. So you do the same joke I do. You copied that off me like 15 years before I did it.
Yeah.
Like the bloke travelling back through time. Have you seen that bloke on TikTok travelling back through time from Spain? Have you seen this?
What are you doing watching
You
TikTok?
do. It was in the papers. It was in the papers. He's come back from 2027. He's the last human being. All the human beings have just gone. It's him walking down in Madrid, walking down the street. There's cars quite neatly parked. I don't think any of them are from after 2021, any of those cars. And everyone's just disappeared. And it's a day 103 that it's been on his own. But he's managed to send back a TikTok to us.
Whoa.
Not really to warn us.
You're not selling it to me.
Is this real?
Well, he says it's real. It's a thing.
I mean, wow, that would be... I don't believe it.
No, I don't believe it.
I don't remember you saying that in the Adam and Joe show. In one of the later series,
Wasn't it
maybe.
one of the ones where did we have a little cutout audience?
Nope. You
No.
had no audience, and you went, there isn't an audience, and you turned the camera around, and it was just a wall. And Adam was just being crazy,
Oh, yeah,
pretending
yeah.
to be
So
Bruce
why did
Forsyth,
you,
because it's a Bruce Forsyth line, isn't it?
Why
Is
did
it-
you stop watching
Because
after 2.5? What was the moment
because
that
I was
made you
watching
stop?
them today, and I also had to read Louise Wenner's autobiography. And I thought, I've got the idea. To do like a film with some puppets, pretty funny. The vinyl thing, the vinyl showdown.
Final Justice.
Yeah, that's it. That's good. I only watched it today. That's how bad my memory has become.
Who was in the one you watched?
The first one was Kerry from Catatonia.
Keris.
Keris from Catatonia.
Yeah.
Wait, had you
Catatonia.
never ever watched it ever before?
I think I have seen it before, but I
Like-
didn't watch it at the time. I would say I don't think, but I do.
Were you
remember
aware of it, or did you
Yes.
not watch it because you felt threatened?
I think I was aware of it. I must have, because I watched everything. I must have watched it a bit at the time, but I think it did feel like similar territory to where
Yeah.
we were. So you were our Channel 4 rival.
Similar, exactly. We were on Channel 4, which is a very progressive
Yeah.
channel. And we embraced progressive values on there.
Yeah.
You were with the establishment
I
channel.
was. Well, and they made us change ours, which I think yours carried on looking like as it should do, like a homemade show at home, and ours started like that, and then they put us in a shiny floor for the second series,
Yes.
which I think was an error.
But you always had audiences and things like that.
We did
You
have
always were in an actual studio. And that's what I was doing. Well, that's what that bit that you mentioned was lampooning. The idea.
Well, it was very packed. It was very
Of being
packed with
in a
stuff, and you
studio.
start by
Sell out!
You start doing you start with you on a black and white shaky cam, and that's a very, very good bit. It starts very confidently. You list the 20 names. It's just full of stuff. It's good. It's all. And I was saying backstage, the only thing that doesn't really fly now was your parody of the internet, which is just incomprehensible.
What if the internet was like going into a news agent? That's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was really good. In 1996.
It was good in
perceptive, yeah.
But it wouldn't fly with the kids today.
But it has brilliant retro value now.
Yes, it does.
It's amazing nostalgia.
Shall I describe the whole sketch?
Yeah.
You go, yeah. So if the news agent was like the internet back in, when was it, 96, then there'd be a bouncer on the door, and the bouncer would charge you money before you even went into the news agent. And then when you wanted to get your magazine, you'd have to wait for it to download, like the internet. and it would take ages for like a porn magazine. If you wanted to look at a dirty picture, it would take ages for the dirty picture to arrive, and it would come down line by row in big blocky pixels, because that's what porn was like in 1995
It was.
or 96.
So it's got a nostalgic value.
Yeah. And then we download I'm still talking about the sketch. we download a virus. Do you remember that? We opened the
That was the
magazine.
punchline, yeah.
And it's got a virus, and it was a bit of kind of...
I tell you what, while we're here, why don't we just do the director's commentary for the whole... But let's try and do it without rewatching the show. We just have to guess where you were in each show. Go, I think now is probably about the time.
I feel like I remember them all very well.
But we
because
never knew whether anyone found them funny. You had a studio audience,
Yep.
so you knew whether your stuff was funny. And this is why, 25 years later, Adam is actually having to say the material to find out whether it was funny back then. And it's good, man. I think we're going to get a second series. I think it's going well.
Well, unlike our stuff, you can see your stuff on All 4, and I think it's on... Can you see it in America as well?
Yeah, you can see it all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can't with our stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think it's true you can see it all over the world.
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanted to make you feel jealous. But you can certainly see it on All 4.
It's on All 4. It's on a thing called Wow Plus,
Yeah.
which is the production company that made it, World of Wonder. So yeah, you can find it. Have you actually watched any of them, Joe? Have you seen whether they're good copies or anything, or they're?
No.
I bet they're not in the right aspect ratio.
Gold.
That would make me so sad.
Well, you're very silly kids in it, larking about. It's very nice, and it's good. It's funny, but I kind of wonder now you're a big movie director, whether people have seen it and go, is this you? You expect us to do what you say?
Yeah. Well, no one's really.
No one
seen it.
knows.
Everyone's too young to have seen it.
But were you embarrassed by it when you got into the industry?
No, I was proud of it. The thing I was embarrassed by was I wrote a parody theme song for the James Bond film The Quantum of Solace.
Oh yeah,
Thank you. So we had a feature on our Six Music show called Song Wars, where we wrote a song based on a theme. And I did one, the lyrics went, he's got a gun and great big man tits. So with a clip, and I had a YouTube film with Daniel Craig coming out of the water. And it got like, I think, 2 or 3 million hits on YouTube.
right.
And then I got hired to write Tintin, the film of Tintin, starring Daniel Craig. And I thought all it would take was one little person to connect the dots, and I might be fucked.
Yeah.
So I took it down, which was a wrench because it had a lot of hits.
Yeah.
So that's the only time the two worlds have ever intersected, really.
Or they didn't actually intersect, though.
In my brain, they did.
Yes.
Potentially.
Well, that's the danger when you're taking the piss out of people. Like, I remember was it yours what they went is I sing this all the time. I think it was your one. It's a quantum of solace, but no more than a quantum. They say they want a big bag of quantum.
Yeah. They say
solace.
they say they do big bags of solace, but I don't want them.
Yeah.
It's a good rhyme.
I only
Very
want a
good
tiny,
rhyme.
teeny bit of solace before I kill you.
We went to Nick Frost's wedding the night before we did that show, right? When we unveiled those songs, and we were on Richard Curtis's table, and we said that we were doing James Bond songs about Quantum of Solace, and I quoted him that line, and he said, "Oh, that's a good line." But then Joe quoted his lines, and they said he was going to win.
Did he win?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he was on quite a long winning streak at that point that I got inordinately upset.
I mean,
about.
it seemed like you both put a lot of work into song. I mean, it was worth doing because you released it. I remember. I mean, I think I know it because I bought the album.
Did you?
It was you.
But that was a lot of work you must have worked very hard on those in the week.
and that's why Adam was so angry when he lost.
Yeah.
Because of the emotional investment. It did take ages. Yeah,
Yeah.
we would prepare for that show most of the week, I would say.
By
right?
the end, yeah.
Like most radio presenters do 5 or 6 jobs, right?
Yeah.
They'll have a column, they'll appear on game shows and chat shows and stuff, right? And they'll maybe do 5 shows a week. That's how they make their living. We were doing 1 show a week and working 5 days on it. And it just, it was brilliant. But after a while, the sheer emotional, physical and financial toil it took was... No, you disagree, because...
I don't disagree. It's true. I feel bad. I'm making faces because that's one thing I regret, is that I wasn't able to just relax a little bit more and not make it quite such an intense atmosphere of competition. And
It wouldn't have been funny without that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The fact that it really mattered to you made it so much more delicious.
the other thing was that, I mean, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, did quite a lot less preparation.
Hey.
But
That's not true.
it is. And then would usually do better, would win at Song Wars,
Oh,
would
I
be
see.
funnier on the air, and it would just feed into my little simmering small man syndrome.
I'm happy with where that went in the end. I was worried at the beginning, but then I'm happy with where that went.
Yeah.
Well, I took over from your slot with Andrew
yes,
Collins.
that's right, with Andrew Collins.
And we would go into Cafe Nero half an hour before the show and decide what we were going to do on the way on Bond Street, and then we'd walk up and do it.
It's the best way, isn't it? I'm always remembering that, Carl Pilkington at XFM sitting us down before we did our first show there. And we unveiled a load of ideas for features and jokes and stuff that we were going to do. And I played him a couple of jingles I'd made, and he was like, "No, don't do that. People don't like it when you prepare too much. You do all that work. It makes them feel uncomfortable. And I just thought, no, screw you. I'm going to do loads. I'm going to do jingles, and there's going to be features, and I'm going to prepare the shit out of it, because I wasn't comfortable just relaxing and you know.
Well, but that's why it works. I mean, the Adam Joe show is very well worth watching again. It does stand up, and you can see the amount of.
Thanks for the plug.
The amount of. Well, that's why. That's
streaming money.
They said I had to say that if they were going to come in.
0.001 pence per stream.
But it's just packed with ideas, which is, you know, when you were young, and the same for us. We really packed our shows. And before your show, it says, remember to set your video recorder. This is a dense show, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing as that. I think we did it first. But, you know, it's that you were so keen to get ideas up. And mainly, it's, you know, I think we've talked before about this. I think there's a couple of minor missteps in terms of the pranks were a little bit... the smashing the crockery one was a bit cruel on the people in the shop. There's the one of eating the 10% where... It's funny, though, man. God. Where they're really angry, they're confused by you eating the free 10% of the chocolate bar.
Who felt worse about those things? Was it you or me? Like about the pranks and things like that. Why didn't we talk each other out of it?
I don't know. Well, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how badly the one in the china shop was going to go. We didn't know how vulnerable the woman behind the counter would be. And we didn't know the police were going to come. And we didn't think through the claw hammer. Like, we should have had a little, like, pink rubber hammer. Not a big, like, serial killer Halloween 2 hammer. We just didn't think it through properly.
I know, but it didn't. It sort of just felt out of kilter with the rest of it is two lads being, you know, silly. And it's, you know, it's nothing compared to what Channel 4 prank shows were to become. It's still very charming compared to that, but it just feels, you know, it's still funny, but it feels like it does feel slightly out of kilter.
Well, maybe this is the right time to say sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
We're very, very sorry.
Because the Vinyl Justice is sort of piss-takey, but in a lovely way. Everyone just enjoys. And was that all genuine, or did you take a couple of records with you to take the piss out of, or was it always...
It was always genuine, except for Marky Smith of The Fall.
Okay.
Although, no, he brought his own records, but it wasn't his place. He came to London, and we did it in my flat.
Okay.
And he was a bit of a menace. And you weren't... I mean, you didn't know or care that much who he was, right?
No. Well, I did when he tried to kill me. Then I started to care about his work. Who is this man suffocating me? But before that, no. But a few people, quite a lot of pop stars don't want you to go into their houses.
Sure.
Especially when you're two weird, sweaty, gangly nobodies with fucking plastic policeman's helmets with records attached to them, and not a proper film crew, just some dork with a Sony camcorder.
Well, that's what I thought. Keris was very nice. Nick Hayward, I saw, very welcoming to you.
He didn't let us go to his house. That was in his...
That was at the label
Creation.
offices.
He was just signed to Creation.
Right.
Keris was the first person who let us do it.
Right.
And we went to her house, and she was lovely, and we danced
really
to Pinky
lovely.
and Perky with her.
Yes.
I
very
really
lovely.
wanted to go out with her.
Yeah.
And I was trying so hard. And then I watched the rushes back when we got back to London. And I just thought, obviously, she was never going to go out with her. Look at me. I'm a disgrace. And also, I wasn't completely... I didn't quite understand the concept. I'm really slow when it comes to these things, you know. Like Joe, I think Joe came up with the idea of going and raiding people's record collections. Or maybe it was just the phrase vinyl justice that you came up with, and then everything fell into place.
I think all of the things.
All of the
I
good
came up
things.
with all of the things.
But that would be a whole show. That's a great idea. That would be a whole show now.
Well, they did it. They sold the format to America.
Right.
And they did a whole show based on it, and it turns out you're wrong.
America.
It's not a good show. Wasn't good.
It wouldn't work quite so well now because you'd have to kind of just scroll through a phone.
Yeah,
and go,
exactly.
Or
I think
what
you
have you been streaming?
do well with that finger action that you just did. If those were the opening credits, I think that would be an appointment to view. Whatever the show was about, I'm in. Richard Herring's finger. Richard Herring's touchy finger. I would watch that show.
It'd be a different show every week. It'd be good. You should have done. I had about 3 CDs, so it would have been good. You should have come and done me. It wouldn't have taken very long.
Well, we were on the cusp of the arrival of CDs, weren't we? We were always very disappointed when people didn't have any vinyl.
Right.
Because the covers are too small and shiny, right?
Yeah.
Well,
they're
you
boring.
do a bit about how CDs aren't indestructible in one of those first 2 shows.
We did do that, yeah.
Yeah.
God,
We
you
were
really
ahead
have
of the
watched it.
curve.
I really watched it. I watched it and I listened and I remembered some of the details.
We did have the thing where we would do little blipvert things. I mean, in our mind, we were inspired by Max Headroom, but you guys were doing the same sort of thing.
You were a
had-
Fist of Fun fan, weren't you? Because you were on before us. You
Yeah,
started before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was jealous.
You were a fan and you were jealous.
Yes.
So did you copy the whole set your video thing?
no,
Or was that a sort of a tribute?
no?
Because you did
was,
do that, didn't
We
you?
did do it, but I think it was so. I think there might have been one other like late night show that did something like that. I don't think it was with jokes. I think it was maybe listings or something for reels.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're right. 01 for London or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Flashed up all
So
the late
it was
night
very much.
info.
I wanted to do. We weren't allowed to do it. I wanted to do CFAX subtitles that were for different stuff that we weren't saying. And we weren't allowed to do it because you needed to. That
would have been great.
needed to do.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
No, we wanted to do all that stuff. We wanted to subvert the medium and fuck
Yeah.
around with it and do everything we could. We didn't do any of that. Also, it was no good because with VCRs, if you paused the VCR to try and look at a single frame, it was so rubbish. And
Yeah. Well, we put in flash frames of me and Stu completely naked, and I can't believe he agreed to do this. So we dressed up as Greek gods and naked, like with everything out, and then put them up really quickly so they would be impossible to capture. But of course, then they went out on DVD, so then you could. I'm surprised no one, as far as I know, has taken those frames out. But there is just with our
Until
with our
today.
cocks out. I can't believe that.
It's,
I can't believe
it's horrific.
Stu
It's
did it.
horrific.
I can't. Well, I haven't looked back at it, but it just, it's just us with our in the garden with our flaccid, shy cocks. I don't think there's anything.
that's one thing we never did was get naked, I don't think.
We
Did
didn't dock. We didn't dock. That's what we should have done.
I do reveal my buttocks in the opening sequence to the second or third series because I was proud of them at the time. I thought these are nice buttocks, and I've got to capture these fuckers before they turn into the sort of water bottles that Michael Douglas has in Basic Instinct. Is that a topical reference? So they are there, and they're really lovely.
Yeah.
They really are.
You've got to capture it while you're young.
You've got to
That's the
capture your
thing.
buttocks while you're young.
Yeah.
In the opening titles, that was.
Why do you want to know? What's this sudden specificity in your line of questioning?
Gonna go. I've got all the rushes.
How would you feel 25 years on about bringing the show back as 2 slightly weary middle-aged men, but forced to do the same things you did when you were?
I just
20.
couldn't smoke that quantity of weed anything. Seriously, I was so stoned making those toy movies and doing
Right.
the animations. I would just lived on grass.
I think
personally.
it would. There would be a sort of
have a
art
s-
to it if as 50-somethings you were still for the idea that you'd been doing it for 25 years and it was still going on. Do you think there's a sort of drama in this rather than a
Tragedy.
yeah.
We would have been very happy just to carry on, but we weren't allowed to do so. We had a good idea for a show called Adam and Joe's TV Wars, and that was the closest we got to having a coherent pitch that would follow the Adam and Joe show. And it was very much post Vic and Bob, Shooting Stars, that kind of thing. But it was a game show where you would pit 2 sort of media celebrities against each other, and they would play a load of games based on aspects of being a TV personality. So they'd be on a quiz show that was called Never Mind, It's All Over or something, and they would have to...
This is what the pitch meeting was like.
I'm remembering now why it didn't get... Because it is exactly like... And you look like the executive who was there. And this is how I felt at the meeting as well. There was some good stuff in it. It had a gag at the beginning of the crane going over the audience, and every week, a bit like The Simpsons, something else would happen to the crane.
Yeah, that's good.
It would crash into the wall or a runner, or it would zoom in on an attractive woman in the audience the way that they sometimes do, you know, at sporting events and things like that. And then it would get yanked away, and it was...
It was going to be good. At one stage, the teams were going to operate the cameras and be in the edit suite and everything. I thought that would have been funny. Like, it would have been a complete fucking disaster.
And they had to do, like, auto cue challenges, you know, do live reports, and we'd put funny stuff on the auto cue, Richard.
So listen, that was the moment we realised it was over for us. What was the moment you realised it was over for you?
Well, it was before we'd even finished. Genuinely, the control of the BBC Two changed, but we'd already had our last series commissioned, and she never came. She was always invited to come down and said she would come, and she never came. And then there was, I can't remember what the joke was, but John Plowman was our executive producer, and there was something in the script, because it was live. Because Fist of Fun hadn't been live, and it had taken 4 hours to record, and we hated it and had to retake it, and it was always felt awful because you were doing the same thing over and over again. So that was partly why we wanted to do it live. And then because it was live, they sort of accepted that we could say anything we wanted. And John Plowman said, you can say this, but if you say this, I think it will seriously impact the chances of you getting another series.
What did you want to say?
I can't remember
That's
what it
like
was.
a red rag to a bull.
I can't remember what it was, but we said it.
Of course you fucking said it.
Because we already knew that
He knew you were gonna
we
say
weren't
it.
going to get another series, because this woman, and Jane Root it was, who I was, that Edinburgh, she never got, but I've never found out whether we were going to get another series, to be honest. So it's still on the cards. No one said no yet. But the moment I thought definitely it's not going to happen, I was meeting with Steve Coogan in a party at the Edinburgh Fringe to discuss a script he wanted me to write. And he was talking to Jane Root at this party, and he said, Jane, do you know Richard Herring? And she just turned around. And I thought, yeah, probably not getting another series. That was probably the moment I realised it was over. The last pitch meeting I had with Channel 4, the pitch meeting actually stood up and left we all stood up and left during the meeting. It was going so badly that they got so annoyed, but they didn't understand it. And I said, I just don't think you get this. It's fine.
Wow, that's my fantasy, is just to get up. I've had so
But the
many...
whole meetings,
who
they
got up?
stood
The
up.
people
The
they
executives stood up, and
yeah.
we stood up, and we just all walked out, and then we were in the corridor, and then it was goodbye. That was my last
Usually
pitch
they
meeting.
have the courtesy to get an assistant to just come in and slip a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it'll be blank.
Yeah.
But then they go, oh, I'm sorry, I have to take this. And then that's it.
Yeah,
And then
no.
you think it's an important call, but it isn't. They just want to get the fuck out.
Has that happened to you?
Of course not.
Constantly commissioned.
But commissioning executives have clever ways of doing things, right? That line to a comedian, oh, if you say that, you'll never get another show. That's a red rag to a bull, right?
Yeah.
You've got to say it.
Yeah.
Like, they never say passionately that they love or hate anything, right? Because they don't want to screw their colours to that thing.
Yeah.
Because then they can
That's
be
the
blamed.
phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Screw your colours to the thing.
To the mast.
You really screwed your colours to the thing there, Mike. It's going to seriously jeopardise your things of stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a sell-by date, isn't it? As we all realised, and the next thing comes along, and that business we were in the 90s was very much that, wasn't it? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
So we all, in fact, you had 4 series and we had 4 series of two series of two different things. So we all got 4 series, which is pretty good.
Yeah, but we got 4 series of the same thing.
Yeah. We got 2 series of 2 different things.
Yeah,
so.
but that makes the thing that got 4 series of the thing better than the thing that had to change what it was to get. Doesn't it? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You're busy later, whoever you are.
We can make the audience decide which was the best, if anyone remembers either of these.
I think this is a collection of all the people in the country who remember both things.
And
You've
then,
managed to round them up.
at the end of the road, it's a podcast.
Yeah.
Hooray for podcasting, though, don't you think? I was thinking about this. Yeah.
Hooray.
Hey, here we are.
On the weekend, I saw an article about Sean Keaveney leaving Six Music, and it was a nice, thoughtful piece in the Times, and it was sort of saying, yeah, it's sad that he's going / being pushed. And a lot of the Six Music listeners were really upset about it and just felt like, oh, you know, Six Music is turning into a different thing now. But the piece was making the point that, well, they don't like it because, you know, it has to change, and they're being shown that they're getting old and the world is moving on without them, and it's not a very enjoyable feeling. But of course, the BBC as a broadcaster has to keep it fresh like that.
Yeah.
But that's what podcasting is for. It's like a sort of lovely retirement community for irrelevant people, but in the best possible way. So like the fantasy for a listener to Six Music is like, well, this is my station, these are my presenters, I love the whole place and the ethos, and they'll always be with me throughout my life. But it's not realistic because the station has to change and get younger blood in, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's not the case with podcasts. No. You and me are going to be doing this until we die.
Yeah, it's true. They can't stop us.
Yeah.
You and Richard and everybody else in the world.
I know, but that's the nice thing. You know, it's purely, it's totally democratic. Like, our audience will grow old with us unless we say some really appalling stuff.
I've really tried, and I think if you do enough of them, it's so hard to find the appalling things retrospectively. There's stuff in there if you want to trawl through it and be the one to get me cancelled. There's stuff. I mean, actually, the Louise Wenner one last week, it's not that far. You have to go back. But yeah, there's definitely. I mean, but also it's there though. Like, and I've been podcasting since 2008 or something. And that was that period where everyone was going, yeah, let's be as offensive as we can because we can be, and it's the Wild West. And so there's a lot of stuff there that's troublesome, I would imagine.
Yeah, sure. No, there's always troublesome stuff. Because, you know, that's the way time works, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you don't do that with your films, though, Joe, right?
Sorry, I was listening
You're much
to the thing about to the podcast people talking.
You're much more careful. It has to go through more layers of scrutiny, right?
Mm-hmm. Man, thanks for bringing me in. But I'm just going to go right ahead and have a sip of my water.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted some water. Did you hear my Mr. T, Mrs. T idea that I did in the intro?
For a film?
Yeah. Well, I would see it as a Crown-style Netflix drama.
Series. Okay, no. Mr. T and Mrs. T.
They're secretly married, but then neither of them can admit it.
Yeah.
And so it's about their relationship.
Set up, turning point, payoff. Yeah. So it's set up, turning point.
Brighton bomb.
And what does Mr. T do? Does
he diffuses the Brighton bomb.
I like it. That's the payoff.
Yeah.
You're in. I'm done. You're done. We're in. That's good, isn't it? I mean, you heard the announcement that Steve Coogan's playing Jimmy Savile.
I did.
So all fucking bets are off. And Mr. and Mrs. T is on.
I did mention it to my manager, who said, yeah, that's a good idea. So, you know, I literally put it on Twitter as a stupid joke. And then I got so many good suggestions from Twitter. I think it's a go.
What are the catchphrases? What does Mr. T say, for instance?
I thought you meant Jimmy Savile, because I was saying, surely this is now the point at which we do impressions of Steve Coogan doing impressions of Jimmy Savile.
Adam.
What could possibly go wrong?
This is where, as your long-term comedy wife, I say, darling, don't. What's Mr. T's catchphrase?
I pity the fool. I ain't going on no plane.
That's good. There's two. Yeah. What's Mrs. T's catchphrase?
By the way, I'm playing Mr. T in this. It's a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker.
Will you be able to do that accent?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do it like that, but... The hair and everything. I mean,
So you will do blackface, but you won't do the accent. Because that would be going too
that
far.
would be offensive.
Yeah. Mrs. T's catchphrase was, "The lady's not for turning."
Yeah.
And you're
And
fired.
then when they're in bed with each other, she would go, "The lady is for turning." Be nice, it's youngish Mrs. Thatcher.
Gillian Anderson doing that. It appears the lady is for turning. I'm turned on, I'm Margaret Thatcher.
Yes.
That's what she won an award. I'm Margaret Thatcher.
Sometimes a fire burns so brightly.
You might have won a few more awards, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I just came up... Gillian Anderson took months to prepare for that. I just did that.
Yes. That was very good. Your Crown stuff is really, really good. By the way, we did a Christmas podcast. Adam did some parodies of The Crown. Did anyone hear that? I thought it was amazingly funny.
Obviously, they did. They were listening to them just before, probably.
Just before. Okay.
They listen to them all the time.
And is the Tom Cruise Doodle story now complete? Is there any more to add to that?
Good question. I was thinking
Well, I've got
about
a new
this.
Oh, have you?
Holy shit! What's your new one?
If you start it on this podcast, you have to do it. Come back onto this podcast. Do it every year.
Is
on
it
this
Christmas?
It's nearly Christmas.
I did notice chocolate Brussels sprouts in M&S
Yeah.
last week. Is it Christmas?
There's Christmas ads on telly.
It's as Christmassy as it's going to be in the UK. That's Christmas is going to be exactly this Christmassy.
Yes, it's 70s Christmas this year.
So we're on the set of Steven Spielberg's The Adventures of Tintin.
That's where he's leaving it.
Is it next Christmas?
Yes. Let's have one more.
And this massive Winnebago pulls up, like a huge jet stream, personal trailer, mobile home. The sleekest, sexiest, affordable to mankind. The brakes hiss. It gradually lowers on its chassis. A beautiful tinted window rolls down to reveal
Anton Deck.
Now that's 2 Christmases worth.
So we're not going to find out who was in the
I find it hard to
Winnebago.
know what people want from this.
I mean,
whole
a
thing.
fully formed anecdote with a beginning, a middle, and an end is generally the way it works.
I think 5 or 6 years ago, when you were in your 40s, this was a fun way to do it. But now there's just the danger.
I swear, man,
3 or 4 years
you
in.
nearly got cancelled for the Doodle story. The whole, I mean, it wasn't fair because you didn't technically reveal anything when you went on the one show. But that was around the time that I thought, I think I need to get off Twitter because the wave of fury, blind fury.
About what?
About Joe going on the one show and being asked to recap the Doodle story. And then, according to some people who were watching, who also listened to the podcast, he said too much and he gave away the ending or something. He's only just gone and given away the ending of the Doodle story. This makes me sick. And it was sort of very intense levels of passion.
Sometimes when people love something so much, they can hurt the one they love.
Yeah.
They can lash out.
But we got this when we had Boggins on the radio show.
Do you know who Boggins was?
Yes.
Do you? Tell us who Boggins was.
Some kind of dog.
Some kind of dog?
Yeah.
Some kind of wonderful.
Okay.
We had I came back from holiday one year and I'd had a big argument with my sister-in-law about about dogs in general. And she'd accused me of being a dog Nazi. And it was one of those conversations that started out as fun bants and then ended up really quite tense and uncomfortable. And I think my way of dealing with the situation was to do an impression of her dog on the radio show. And Joe named the dog, the imaginary dog, Boggins. And I would do, a dog voice like that. It's a bit like the one I do now for Rosie. And Boggins would slobber and fart and shit everywhere. And some people thought it was funny, but then some people really hated it. And look, I found this letter.
Go on, I just thought you were checking your emails.
No, I'm looking at this. This is a message that was very indicative of a lot of the stuff we got. And this was from someone called Corinne at the Department of International Development at Oxford University. We had amazing listeners. The messages we got every week were so good, which was why it hurt when we got stuff like this. And she says, whenever Boggins is around, my hands automatically reach for the stop play button. Because she's listening to the podcast. Not sure why, but I can't stand him, and he's been ruining my fun. It would really help if you had a warning that said the show features Boggins, and then I would know that I can give the show a miss, rather than stop halfway through completely exasperated and frustrated. I've been a long-standing fan, but this feels like the end of a beautiful affair, and just because of a stupid dog. How could you?
See, that was before. That was a while ago, though.
That's
the way the world has become. She
2009 or
started the whole thing. There's a thing I don't like in something.
Yeah.
It has to now stop. Couldn't you just not listen to it? No. It has to stop.
They go, oh dear. There was
But people love dogs.
Yes.
Don't they? It's the famous thing that if you kill a dog in a film, you alienate a percentage of the audience. If you murder any sort of human, you're fine. People love it, right?
Yeah.
So you create a fictional dog, and then we were going to have it put down, weren't we? Because it was just too smelly and stinky.
Well, it was
too unhygienic.
It prefigured Brexit.
And we got letters like this.
Yeah.
So we thought the humane thing was to kill the fictional dog.
No, we let it go in Glastonbury in the end. But it was the listeners were divided between kill Boggins and save Boggins.
Yeah.
You're interested in this, Richard? Yeah.
I'm letting it play out.
Good. I just thought I'd check in with you.
I'm letting it play out. We'll move on to something else. I'll ask you. Did you hear my daughter's story? Did you write stories when you were kids?
Yes.
Have you found them subsequently?
I've got all mine. Yeah, I wrote children's books when I was a child.
Right.
Yeah, so I knew where my market was at. Do you want to know more? No,
Yeah, I do.
Tell me your daughter's one.
Well, I did. I've told everyone else you were just backstage, not listening to my brilliant.
So she's 6, right? Is this the
She's
6-year-old?
6, yeah. So she wrote about a dinosaur fucking a unicorn.
Really?
Yeah, and then having a dogfish baby.
Well, hang on. Does she use the word fucking?
No. Right. Though, to be fair, I have said this before, but when she was 4 or 5, she was at school and they were talking about a story about Geoffrey the giraffe. And then the teacher said, can you describe Geoffrey the giraffe? And my daughter said, Geoffrey the giraffe is a wanker. and they were so sure she couldn't have said that, they asked her to repeat it, and then she had said they talked to us quite seriously.
I tried to write Roald Dahl-style mystery books.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched Tales of the Unexpected, and I didn't read the books because they were a bit too adult, but I knew what they were, and I thought it was amazing to be able to think of, 16 stories with twists, and I gave them names.
Yeah.
In the book, and I designed the covers and everything, and I read through them the other day. They're really, really not good at all.
Yeah. But are they funny not good, or are they just not good?
I just don't know. It's such a dense nest of psychoses reading them. It's hard to tell what would happen if they were read out loud.
I wrote one called The Thrilling 3. It was meant to be The Thrilling 3, but I misspelt it. But it was very heavily based on... I've actually pitched rewriting this as an adult, though, to be honest. I think it's quite interesting to have a group of kids who just don't have who'd form a gang and then don't have any adventures as that would be what happens. And in the book, one of the Thrilling Three just moves to another town right at the beginning, which is what happened. I was starting writing it, and my friend Angus Ashman moved to another town. So then Tim moved away.
Well, you were a trailblazer for social realism in that genre.
The Thrilling Three. I think and then having to be called the Thrilling Three because they've misspelt it on the cards. I think it'd be a good kids book. But I'm not sure whether the Secret Seven and the Famous Five are a thing anymore.
I don't know.
No, they tried to. They rebooted. They made a film of it recently.
Yeah.
They rebooted it. Yeah.
Just took the racism out.
Yeah. Because Enid Blyton, that was all solid gold racism, wasn't it? When I say solid gold, that's not the right phrase to use in conjunction with racism.
Did she write a book called The Three Gollywogs?
I don't know. Probably.
And I think if you look into that, because I did do a program at the Gollywog on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
And they had quite unpleasant names. If that wasn't enough for you, the names of the Gollywogs were quite bad as well.
Right.
So,
I'm thirsty.
Get cancelled for that these days, though, of course.
Oh, it's cancel culture. It's gone mad, isn't it? You get cancelled for saying anything nowadays. One racist thing and you're out of the picture.
Right, I'm going to ask you an emergency question and hope... won't do Christmas ones. Hold on. Have you ever picked up a randomly ringing phone in a public phone box? Who was on the other end?
Nope.
A desperate prostitute.
This happened to me in Weston-super-Mare when I was about 14, and a very lonely sounding, I presume quite drunk woman was on the end.
Oh.
And basically just saying, do you want to come and see? Do you want to come to my place?
I was right.
Yeah. I didn't go. Okay. Oh, keep taking my glasses off and then remember I can't read. If you're only allowed to have 12 bones in your body and no kinds of implants to substitute for the others, which 12 of your bones would you elect to keep?
At the risk of being obviously lavatorial, Willy is not a bone, is it? That's
not in the human species.
Despite the phrase boner, because it's like... Yeah, okay.
Some animals do have a bone in their penis.
Do they? Yes.
But,
So
you could elect to make it one of your 12 bones if you wanted. You could say, can I have one of them as a bone in my penis to give me a permanent erection?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, maybe I would do that then.
Yeah. But, you would need some leg bones. Maybe not. You need a pelvis.
I suggest you keep your skull. Because I think you'd look unattractive with a flaccid head. I mean, you could hold your breath and inflate it when you weren't talking. But when you were talking, it would be he'd be unappealing company, I think.
Yeah, man. That would be like that bit in Under the Skin.
Yeah.
In the pool. Have you seen that movie?
No,
Jesus. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. Sorry.
Do we have to... That's surely enough on
That's
that
enough,
one,
yeah, you've done it.
isn't it?
But when you start thinking about it...
Just had to deal with that
when you start thinking about it, it would be a sad existence.
It's a very good question.
Thank you.
How about you? What buttons... Oh, no, I don't say that. I don't mind.
It's a shame when the question's too funny. Do you remember the first time that your childhood enthusiasm was crushed and broken?
Childhood enthusiasm.
You got bullied at school, right?
Yeah. Yes. I feel like it's happening again.
Yeah.
Suddenly. Yeah, I did. I got locked in a cupboard.
Yeah.
By I shouldn't say his name. I nearly said his name.
Yeah.
Conroy Twitty, is that something?
No, I got locked in a cupboard. I had to smash my way out.
Yeah.
With my feeble, bullied little legs.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the reign of terror continued. Yeah. But
Reign
then
of terror.
I did. What do you want to know about it?
Well, it's interesting. But you were at boarding school, but you were a day.
Yeah, I was a day boy. Adam was a boarder.
Because it's all that public school stuff. It's all kind of coming out that it was such an unpleasant atmosphere at a lot of those boarding schools and then the people who were bullied the most are now in charge of the country.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that political elite are used to this awful situation, and then they become, as you progress through it, you turn into the bullies, right? Generally speaking, and then bully the younger ones.
Right, a kind of damaged generation. Replacing each other. But I mean, I don't.
And were encouraged by the teachers, it seems, to behave in that way. Was that your experience?
No, that wasn't my experience. I don't think. Was it yours?
He was locked in a bloody cupboard.
But the teachers encouraged bullying.
Locked in cupboard, no disrespect to your pain and your trauma, but locked in cupboard, I'm sure that happened at places other than public schools, didn't it? Anyone?
It was a really expensive cupboard.
Queen
like
Anne.
mahogany. I don't know if it's got to be true, hasn't it? Like, whatever culture you're exposed to as a kid, probably.
I mean, this is the thing. Children, I don't know if you know this, but especially teenage boys are fucking shitbags. And they're like sort of psychopaths. And they're working, hopefully they come through the other end and they're relatively well-adjusted people. But most of them are wrong-uns. And they're routinely horrible to each other. That's why I always feel weird about the whole going back through people's history on social media and things. Like a whole generation of people growing up and having their teenage years scrutinized and criticized 10 years after the fact.
Yeah.
That just seems colossally unfair because everyone is an arsehole.
I got back at one of the kids that bullied me, and this is sort of epiphanal moment, by drawing a comic strip about him. A viciously sort of a character assassination via comic strip. And I showed it to you, did I? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did.
And I showed it around, and it had the incredibly powerful effect. And it made the boy come up to me and privately and go, "Oh, Joe, please don't show anybody that comic strip that you drew." He was really destabilised by it.
Yeah.
I thought, fuck, this is amazing. The power of drawing stupid comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, he won't remember that he locked you in a cupboard or whatever it was, or whatever he'd done to you, and he'll just think there was this horrible boy at school who drew these
That's
comics
true.
about
There you
me.
go, the cycle of comic strip violence.
Yeah.
Imagine what happened to Steve Bell of The Guardian. Jesus. Is that what he's called?
Yeah, it was good.
Thanks.
Do you think that opposites attract? And even if they do you think that makes for a good relationship? What is the most opposite couple you can imagine?
Would be a good question for Janet Jackson. Didn't she do a song on that subject?
Sing it.
I can't. Is it Janet Jackson? Oh, fuck. And I was ahead of the game with Steve Bell.
Everyone knew it was Paula Abdul.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
Everyone.
Anyway, that would be a good question for Paula Abdul.
It would.
Edit.
Well, in her case, it's her and a cartoon cat, isn't it? That was
Crazy Cat.
Yeah.
Opposites do attract, yes. And you've got to have...
The Crankies.
There you go. Height, physical opposites, but...
Do the heights have to be opposite in all relationships?
Well, I'm in a relationship. My relationship looks a bit like the Crankies, but the other way around.
Okay.
I'm Jeanette, and my wife is the other guy.
Ian.
What's he called?
Ian Cranky.
Ian. Yeah, she's much
I
taller
tried to
than
get
I
them
am.
on this show, but they've retired.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got you two instead.
And here I am in my shorts
And your little hat.
and my little hat.
But do you think it was so in a double? But as a double act, I suppose you're not like a typical double act in terms of...
Not like a good double act.
No, you are a good double act, but you're not like diametrically opposed. But I suppose
There's this big height differential.
there's a height difference.
Sometimes people are shocked when they see us in the flesh. Right?
Yes.
There's maybe you're quite grounded and happy with yourself, whereas Adam's is even more grounded and happy with himself.
He's gone through the ground and out the other side.
No, I'm fine. I'm perfect now.
Yeah.
I've worked through all my problems and I'm totally fixed.
Well, I think, I paid for this, but I think like last year I said to you that how I thought your podcast has got even better as a result of all the tragedies that you'd had in your life.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sort of saying, I hope something else bad happens to you. And then I got cancer. So that was the payback for that. But
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it is interesting that I think it has given those podcasts an extra dimension.
Yeah,
what you've been
tragedy's
working-
putting it too strongly, though. I mean, my parents died. That was the worst it got.
Well, that's bad.
It's tragic I mean, it's not really tragedy, though, is it? Like dying.
It's quite bad.
No,
It's
but
pretty
I mean,
final.
but do you know what I mean? Like, if they'd been assassinated, that would be tragic. Or if they had, fallen into a ditch. I don't know, something. There's more tragic things.
Well, an accident.
Yeah, there you go. That's the
would be
word I'm
tragic.
looking for. Some kind of accident.
Assassination.
Whenever I see, like, if they've been killed in a terrorist attack,
Yes.
that's fucking tragic. That is tragic.
Yeah.
See what it's done to the room? It's chilled out the whole room because of how tragic it is.
Yeah.
But if, my dad was 91, and that's not tragic anymore, is it?
But it's difficult to cope with.
It's sad.
It's sad, and I think that's why, because people feel they know you from the podcast, I suppose. But it's clear you were and with your mum dying as well. That would having to cope with that and carry on with your work. It's just given a extra dimension that because my life's so happy, I just don't feel I can have in this podcast.
Well, it's more difficult with an audience, though, isn't it? Because you've got an audience. I don't have an audience, so I'm able to not worry about entertaining a group of people. I can just say whatever's on my.
Yeah, but they love it. These ghouls, they love it. When listen to them now, they've all gone quiet. They say, what's going to happen next?
It's an edge you've got over Louis, though, isn't it?
What, some death?
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's quite. I'm trying to be careful not to say anything bitchy about Louis, because I feel like I've been too bitchy about him, and maybe we're not going to be friends anymore if I'm not careful. But yes, it is an edge I've got over Louis, because he's shallow and all he cares about is being famous.
So as a double act, I mean, you've had your moments, I think, as anyone working together has, but you have stayed as friends for like 40 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've known each other for 40 years,
Yeah.
Yes.
and you still seem to like each other.
Well, I mean, we don't spend that much time together. I live up in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Joe's down in London. We do the podcast once or twice a year, and that's more or less it.
Yeah.
So we're not overexposed to each other.
Sure.
But I do like it whenever I see Joe. Can't speak for how Joe feels.
No comment.
I'm sure I'm quite high maintenance friend in some ways, but in other ways, pretty great.
Pretty great.
Pretty great. As far as you say your thing now
We
about me.
I love you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having a friend for a long time.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
And do you know what's especially nice? Is to have a furry one. A little cuddly furry one. Who gets angry sometimes.
I don't get angry anymore,
Does
do
funny
I?
little noises. And then curls up by the fire.
When was the angriest I ever got?
Do you want a real answer to that?
Yeah.
How long have we... Is this...
You can have as long
I
as
feel
you
like
like.
you should have asked this earlier. Well, you're the only person I've ever known who's like flown off the handle during a meal in a posh restaurant, like in a film.
When was that?
I keep trying to remember it in detail.
Was that with our agent?
Yeah, with our agent. And it was in like a posh, so it was literally like a sketch in a film. White table glass, monsieur, voulez-vous? No, fucking! Really? And the whole restaurant went, ah! Freaked out. And you stormed out. Yeah.
Stormed out?
Yeah.
Was this really me?
Yeah. I sort of blocked it, but I remember the red hot molten center of it. Just the heat of the moment has blinded me to the detail. Like staring into the sun.
Wow.
But,
I've got a vague memory. I don't remember it like that, I must say.
Well, you correct me then.
No, it's possible. Because the thing is, I think part of the thing with me is that part of the reason I don't tend to hold grudges is because I can't remember most of them. So I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm sure it's fine. But it's possible. And
it was good though, it was fun, I liked it.
Can you remember what it was about?
I don't know. No, I can't remember. I don't remember. It was something I said. And I trod on some sort of a psychological toe.
Yeah.
But it's often like it's something that's been building up. You just need a little...
Yeah, we would argue over the stupidest things.
There were a lot of mines in the minefield, a lot of trigger points, and it was always small things that set them off. And the one of the angriest times of you got. That's how everyone says that now.
Yeah. One of the times I got the angriest.
No, one of the angriest times of you got. That's what I said.
Who's you got?
I know. Yeah, one of the angriest you got that I remember is when we did the Time Out interview, and I talked to you about that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely.
And,
yes, and you ascribed something I'd done to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was about Titanic, your version of Titanic, and you'd done most of the work on that. And we had an agreement that we would always say "we" whenever we talked about the show. And when the article, they interviewed me, Time Out, because Joe wasn't available for whatever reason. And when the thing came out, either I had said or the journalist had incorrectly put I. And Joe rang up and said, What have you said now? You fucking... There was some fucking in it. And that was he was very angry. I was like, well, he's very angry.
Rightfully so, audience.
Yeah.
You would have been equally scandalised had you been in my shoes. Did you share credit on everything?
Did I shag what?
Did you shag?
No, we did shag. That's how we got over it.
Did you share credit on everything?
Yes, we did, even though I did most of the work.
And did your comedy partner ever say any of your jokes and get massive laughs?
Well, I mean...
And did it make you feel funny?
Well, there's stuff that he's forgotten that's mine, that he's done quite well with on his own, but he's done it in his own inimitable fashion that I wouldn't have done. So I remember when we really started out early, and he was doing much better than I was. I didn't really like stand-up. And there was a routine that he did about All Things Bright and Beautiful, which is I'd entirely basically... we were at a wedding and that came on and me and Rob Newman were just pissing ourselves and she was like, what? And I said, this is funny though, isn't it? They're listing specific things that God's made and blah, blah. And I went through all the beats of it. But then Stu turned it into this amazing routine that I wouldn't have even thought of doing it, and it was really good. But there was times I would stand at the back of the comedy club and go, this is my fucking idea. I wrote this because I wasn't getting anywhere and he was doing really well. So yeah, you definitely have those moments. But I think when you've worked together for that length of time, but certainly at that early period where you're forming what your ideas of comedy and writing are, you're bound to sort of cross-fertilise. So I think similarly maybe to Adam.
In our early years, when I was forming what your ideas of comedy were... I remember distinctly... No, that's the end of that sentence.
But I think it's, you know, if it's coping with that, the ebbs and flows of it, but that's growing up, isn't it? And realising that things go up and things can go down as well as up.
Yes. I think, though, one of the nicest things about Adam's podcast, for me as one of his best friends, is that he's sort of become like a really good and lovely person on it. Like, you read a shit of a lot. You have to read for your guests. You weren't a big reader. Neither of us were.
Not at all.
So you know things now.
That's not true because I forget almost everything.
Yeah.
It goes literally in one ear and out the other because I generally go audiobook on the prep. But that's nice of you, man. Thank you.
But I know you so well, I can hear what's going on in your brain.
My stupid mind.
I really can. When you interview people, and I know what question is really about you and not about them. I mean, I think most of us can tell those things.
Certainly, yeah. I'm always sort of asking stuff that is personal. Obviously, I want to engage with. It's not a straight interview in that way. It's a conversation that you would have with a friend.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to make it a sticking point. I meant to say that.
What did you mean?
I mean to say something.
What the fuck did you mean?
I meant to say that listening to it over 5 or 6 or 7 years. Yes, okay. I think you've become a really sort of cuddly, amiable, lovable person.
That's nice. Thanks.
Yeah. Little do they know.
If we were in America, that would get a round of applause.
Well, we should maybe wrap up. It's been we could go on for another hour. I drove down today.
How about? Sorry.
I drove down today because I didn't want to risk getting trapped in London, so I've come in my electric car, which is safe. And it'll get me home. There's enough electricity in it to get me home without...
Really? How long do you get from a charge?
Oh.
Here we go. Now the podcast is hotting up.
Enough that I've never had... I'd just make sure I never go a long, long way, but I think you could do 100 miles.
Whoa.
And if you turned everything off, you could do a bit further, like the engine.
Did you hear that?
If you pushed it. But to London and back is only 60 miles, so it's comfortable. Comfortable.
Did you hear that mileage, Joe?
Yeah, I did.
On one charge.
That's very good. How fast are you going? 3 miles an hour.
No, I can't tell. I'm not big into cars, but it's a VW Golf basically, and I had a VW Golf before, and I can't tell the difference. If anything, this is a bit better.
What were you going to ask him to ask?
I was going to see if there was any questions in the audience.
Oh, we can if you want to, but you know what they're like.
Yeah, they're nice.
You know what you're going to get. Anyone in the audience got a question?
They desperately want to go home.
Do anyone want to lift back to Hertfordshire in an electric car?
There are some hands. I feel, to the disappointment of the rest of the audience.
No, look, there's some people. Now we put the lights up, we can see people leaving. Out of embarrassment.
Is Adam staying at Joe's tonight?
That's a personal question.
Is Adam staying at Joe's tonight?
No, I'm staying. I don't like to stay with friends when I'm in town. I want to be on my own. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not. Like when you get older, you just want to be on your own. So I'm sure Joe would have had me round. Shaking his head, but I'm staying in a hotel not far from here, in a tiny room. It's like a capsule hotel. The bed takes up the entire width of the room, and it's like I'm in prison.
Any other questions from the audience?
It's going very well.
It's going very well, this idea. What's happening with Bug?
It's on hiatus, but hopefully coming back next year. Question for Jay Corn.
What's happening with Attack the Block 2?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to make it, I hope.
Hooray!
Yeah, next year. Yeah. The end of my answer.
Is there any documentary voiceovers you need? Because I think I'd be pretty good. Can I audition for it?
Yes, well, Adam doesn't have to audition.
No. If I come in
It's
and
an
do a
offer,
great
Adam.
audition for it, can I do it? The only thing, I do a little bit of acting every now and again. I might have mentioned this before, but the only thing, they're doing the Sex Pistols series based on Steve
Yeah,
Jones.
Danny Boyle's doing it.
Yeah, I was very excited to get an audition for that.
Did you get an audition?
Well, they said they wanted to audition me, and they didn't send a script, but I was able to learn the part, and I learned it and practiced it.
Wow.
Can you guess who I would have been playing in the...
Old Steve Jones.
No, it's Bill Grundy.
Bill Grundy.
And I would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And I had it, and I got it, and I got the voice good and everything, and I was starting self-taping it, and then they said, it's been cast.
Do some.
That's
Come
it.
on.
No, I can't remember it now.
Nothing.
Go on.
A rude word.
What was the rude word?
Shit.
Oh, very clever. Go on, say something else shocking.
You fucking cunt. He didn't say that, did he?
It's because of him, but he's all mainly going, you rotter.
Yeah.
You rotter. You dirty old man.
You dirty rotter.
How about you girls? Are you just enjoying yourselves? We always loved you.
Yeah, I always fancied you.
Did you?
You know this clip, right, Joe?
Yeah, I
The
do.
filth and the fury.
I'm not doing
Yeah.
it great, but I did. I
was
looked
good.
I looked at his mannerisms, and he sort of had a northern thing, but there was one word he said really weirdly.
The tone of your voice is good for him.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
But also, it's a real fucking kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Yes.
But we're making a film about punk. Do you want to be Bill Grundy in it, you fat, middle-aged drunk? I thought it was going to be Johnny Rotten. No.
But everyone they've cast is very pretty. If you look at
Right.
the young actors they've cast to be the Pistols, they're very, very good looking. So they were casting good looking across the
Yeah,
board.
maybe
Yeah,
that
yeah,
might- yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, but I don't know if I signed it, but they sent me the script. Well, they didn't send me the script. They sent me an audition, said there's a confidentiality thing on this. But then I never got the audition and I never did it. Have I broken the confidentiality agreement by talking about this on this podcast? And am I now stopped from ever being in a movie or TV series ever again as a result of talking about it?
No.
Okay, go for you. Whew, that's my film career back. Just waiting. Well, that's very good questions, audience. That is why I don't come to you. You embarrass me. I haven't done a great job today, but you've made me look good. Well, look, it's really lovely to have you together. I hope we'll get back in another 25 years. And I hope you'll wear the T-shirts and the hat. And that's given me enough impetus to carry on staying alive. And we're just talking about Adam and Joe, and most people who remember Adam and Joe will be dead.
We can just have I'll be dead. I'll so definitely be dead by then. You can just have the T-shirt and the hat.
And the 12 bones. We could have the 12 bones.
Yeah.
Make out the 12, the skull, the penis.
Joe's looking disappointed.
He is disappointed.
I feel we're trying to find an out.
I know, we'll get there. It's all right, it just comes naturally. It's all organic. Well, carry on with your podcasts, Adam.
Thank
carry
you.
on with your very successful career as a film director.
There we go. That was it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Adam and Joe!
Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Ryan and Chaperat Corsanley next week. Come along, there's still tickets. You have been listening to RHLSTP with me, Richard Herring, and my guests, Adam Buxton and Joe Cornish. Look at his Cornish face. Thank you very much to Scant Regard for playing the music that we are listening to. I'm indebted to my producer, Ben Walker. I'm indebted to Chris Evans, not that one. I'm indebted to Kathleen McKeegan, not that one, from RHLSTP at RHLSTP.com. And thank you to everyone at the Leicester Square Theatre. We're having a lovely time here. Thank you for having us. Thanks to George, the incompetent sound man. He's doing a great job. Hope he takes that cough out or it'll be embarrassing. This is a Sky Potato Fuzz and GoFasterStripe.com production. You can still see all of these shows, all of the whole series for a small fee. Go to richardherring.com and you can buy a series pass or each of these shows individually if you want to see what was going on as well as listen to them. Thank you very much. Goodbye.